Hello, everyone, and welcome to this professional development training. My name is Stephanie. I'm your host and founder here at the Intentional IEP. And this training is going to be all about determining your IEP goals for your students and their objectives. In the member resource library, you're going to find this worksheet. It looks just like this. You're going to print it out and you can use this to help you determine, or even just the questions on this to help you and your IEP teams determine what IEP goals you should write, along with objectives and or benchmarks for your students for their next IEP. I also have this, the Intentional IEP's IEP Matrix here, the pre-K through 6, because we're going to use this because we need it for the prerequisite skills. You can also use your state's standard alignment if they give that to you. I know the state of Texas does, or you can also use your state standards to kind of work backwards from the grade level where the student's peers are, work backwards to what they have to learn in each grade level to where the student is. And so we have another training on that here at the Intentional IEP. I'll link it below because you're going to need that information to move forward with this. But I'm going to switch the camera. You're going to be looking down on this worksheet as I do it and walk you through each of the different pieces as I use this worksheet to figure out what IEP goals should come next for a student. Let's go. All right, so this is the worksheet that you're going to download from the member resource library here. I have it linked for you below this training. There's also, this video is linked, so if you have found this worksheet before the video, or you want to come back and watch the video to help you walk through it or help other team members walk through it, it is linked here for you as well inside of your membership. And so what you're going to do, one, print this out. There's going to be multiple different skills that you're going to write IEP goals for. So however many IEP goal skills you need help determining, you're going to print that many. I'm going to start with just one, and we are going to start with math, and we're going to start with place value. So the first thing I'm going to do is write that skill up here. This also just helps me keep track of my own thoughts, and so I don't have multiple goals on one single sheet. So the first thing we want to work on is, I know I'm going to work on an IEP goal and place value. So what skill is or are the students' same age peers working on that the IEP team would like the student to work towards? And so I'm going to get out my either state standards, or I'm going to pull out the IEP matrix here. You can see this is the pre-K 6, this is the ELA and math section. So I'm going to pull up section 20, which is place value. And now I'm going to use this to determine where the student is. So the student is currently in 4th grade. And their peers are working on ordering 3 or more multi-digit numbers. So I'm going to find that here within my matrix. So I'm going to look here for my skills, understanding place value, ordering 3 or more digits. So let's see if ordering 3 or more numbers up to 10,000. 3 or more digits using multi-digit use place value. So we're going to go with this one here. So this is where my student currently, the peers are currently working on, okay, or where they're going to be working on and what I want the student to work on. So I'm going to put that in here. So ordering 3 or more multi-digit numbers using place value. So I'm just going to put a little dot. All right, so that is what peers are currently working on. They're also in 4th grade working on place value up to 1 million, which I do know. So I'm gonna just put that here as a reference. Okay, so they're working on those 2 skills in relation to the IEP goal that I'm thinking of where I want my student to be. And so now the next question you have to ask yourself is, what skill or skills is or are the student currently proficient in that are in direct relation to the skill? And this is where your matrix comes in handy. This is where your spiral list of skills or your state standards come into play. And so what I'm going to do is, based off of the data in the student's IEP and their present levels, the baseline data that I have, where is the student currently functioning? And so I know that the student is currently functioning around a 2nd grade level. And so what I'm going to do, a 2nd grade skill level, let me be more specific. The skill that she knows how to do is 2nd grade. So I'm going to start, see how these are all lined up here? That's all 1st grade. So I'm just looking to find where 2nd grade starts. So 2nd grade starts here. She can read and write numbers to 1,000. That's about where she is. So I'm going to put that over here. And you can even put, if you wanted to put like a 4 so that you know that that's 4th grade, and this is 2nd grade, so that you have a reference if you're going to do this with the whole IEP team, or you want to show your work at the IEP table with the parents, with admin, to show how you came up with this suggestion. You have this here and you can use that. I'm also going to put in here, because to be able to know this skill, read and write numbers to 1,000, she also has to know how to do this 2nd grade skill. So I'm going to put that here too, because she is proficient in understanding place value of a 3-digit number. So she understands place value of 3-digit numbers, which is hundreds, tens, and thousands, or tens and ones, sorry. Getting ahead of myself, okay? That's also a 2nd grade skill, okay? So this is also 4th grade, and this is also a 2nd grade level skill that they're working on. And so you can see how this works beautifully together. Your next question, so you're gonna go down and your work's gonna go across. So the next question is, based off of this information here, realistically, what skill would the IEP team like to write for an annual IEP goal for this student? And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your matrix. We know that we want to get her here, but we are here, right? Ordering 3 or more multi-digit numbers. She's starting here. So I have all of these skills here on all of these pages that she could technically, well, not technically, that she needs to master first to be able, before she can be proficient in this skill. These are all prerequisite skills for that specific skill. So I'm going to actually use one of these other worksheets to hold that in place so I don't lose it, that page. You could use paper clips to hold it in place, or little tabs. But so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through the matrix as I go this way. These are skills. So if she's starting here, anything above it, and as I work backwards, is a prerequisite skill for the skill that she knows, right? For this skill. If I move forward, these are the next level skills that this student has to master in order to get to mastery of the skill where her peers are. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through here and look at these different skills and think, okay, where realistically within one annual year do I think that this student can achieve proficiency of a skill in relation to where she is and where her peers are? Where do we want her to be? So what I'm thinking is, I think what is good for her, because we've got all these other 4th grade skills. So her peers we're probably at the end of the school year if we're working on this skill, right? Because we have all these other 4th grade skills and they go in succession and you have to learn one to master the next. I'm thinking I'm going to have her end up somewhere around here. Understanding place value to 1,000,000. If we're already reading and writing to 1,000, she understands hundreds, tens, and ones. So then we're going to move into thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, right? Which is a good base understanding that she has this. We're just going to move it one step forward, right? That would take her through 9,999 and 900,000, 999,999. Words are hard. So if we do up to here, she's going to use this understanding to move her forward. So what I want to do is place value to 1,000,000 is what I want her to know. And that is a 4th grade level skill, but it's probably the beginning of the year, right? And this is an end of the year skill for 4th grade. This is where working with your general education teachers comes into play, because they can tell you where these skills fall, right? So now, what are 4 to 5 prerequisite skills for this annual IEP goal? When you think about prerequisite skills, you're thinking about your objectives and your benchmarks. You're thinking about your stair steps to get you to this larger IEP goal. We haven't even written the IEP goal, but I know the skill is going to be knowing place value to 1,000,000. So what are the prerequisite skills to get me here? Well, I know that this is where I want her to be. And I know that back here is where she is, right? Where was it? Here, right here. So I have all of these skills in between there that could be the prerequisite skills, or that are the prerequisite skills that could be the objectives or benchmarks. So here are the ones that I'm going to choose based off of this. I know that I want her, knowing what I have in between here, I want her to be able to plot numbers on a number line. Now, these are all stepping stones to get me here. Now you move on to the next step. Based on those prerequisite skills, what 2 to 4 objectives would you like to write as the IEP team? So from here, this is a direct relation to here. Okay, which of these do I want her to know? You can choose all of them. That's fine, and work on one each marking period, or however you wanted to do that. But then from here, so let's say I want to do all of them. So I'm just going to put C above, okay? Because I'm going to work on all 4 of them. They're all prerequisites to get us here. We have to know how to do all of these to get there. And so what progression does the student need to master these 4 skills in order to get there? So I'm not going to rewrite them here. I'm actually just going to put them in order up here. So I want her to be able to compare numbers. So there's 1. Maybe I'm going to box them in because I circled those grade levels. Then I want to sequence the numbers. So we're going to work on comparing, and then we're going to sequence. Then we're going to plot these numbers on a number line. So putting all those skills together, and then we're going to compose and decompose numbers. And so maybe it's not 4-digit numbers, maybe we're going to work on 6-digit numbers. And so maybe instead of plotting 6-digit numbers or 4-digit numbers, or sequencing 3 or more 3-digit numbers, maybe this is going to be a 4. This is just a starting place. This is my recommendation. This is where I think these skills itself, we can change the number of digits in a number if we want to. So we want to work on that. So also C above. Okay. So based on the baseline data and additional present levels, realistically, what criteria should the IEP goal and objectives have? So based on baseline data, and this is going to be different for every student, based on baseline data, based on what data you have on the student, what the present level says, where the student's supposed to be, what level of mastery do we think the student should have? I'm probably going to do an accuracy, right? Math is easily data collected with accuracy criteria, so percentage, right? But realistically, what criteria should the IEP goal have? And so I'm going to link another training here that we have at the Intentional IEP on how to determine baseline data and how to determine your criteria and all of that, because we already did a training on that, so I don't want to reiterate that here, but that's what you would do here. And then you're going to repeat this step for each goal that you write for your students. And so from here, then you'll then choose all of this information. So this would end up being your IEP goal. Okay, so this will end up being your IEP goal. All right, and then this here is going to end up being your objectives. Now, if you write benchmarks, your IEP goals and objectives are going to look a little different than this. And so I'm also going to link the difference between objectives and benchmarks because they're written a little differently, and how they're stacked is different when you're writing your IEPs. And so these would be objectives. Now, this is your IEP goal. These are your objectives. You're going to take those skills and turn them into IEPs or into IEP goals. But if you didn't want to turn them into IEP goals, you can search the IEP goal bank that we have at the Intentional IEP here that you have as a member. And then you'll be able to pull up IEP goals and screeners for those specific topics. And that's how you determine the IEP goals that you should write for your students. I hope that seeing this top-down view of me working through this IEP goal worksheet and me verbalizing my thought process as I'm going through each of these stages of IEP goal development and choosing objectives and benchmarks was helpful. If you need any additional assistance with IEP goal writing, I'm going to link Pillar 2 here at the Intentional IEP is all about IEP writing. We have a ton of trainings here on writing IEP goals, the difference between objectives and benchmarks, all of that good stuff that you need to be able to write functional and attainable IEP goals for your students that make sense and are the most appropriate for them. So I'm going to link them below here as well. I'm also going to link our IEP Matrix because if you do not have a copy of it yet, it makes going through this goal determination worksheet much, much easier again, but you can use your state standards, or if they provide that vertical alignment for you with all the prerequisite skills, you can use that as well. I will see y'all in the next training.